Dear sisters, it's your girl Eva Joy, and this is where we keep it real. Welcome to Dear Sisters, a safe space for honest conversations about healing, growth, and womanhood. If you're new here, you're welcome, sister. And if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Now, let's get into today's conversation. We will be having a very honest conversation today. In our last discussion, we talked about self-forgiveness and then talked about taking responsibility. But there's something that often sits quietly between healing and rebuilding your identity, and that is stigma and the shame that comes with it. So today, let's talk about single mother stigma. We all know that being a single mom comes with stigma, but the real question is, does it ever get better? Now, stigma is simply the disgrace, judgment, or negative label society places on someone because of their situation. And for single moms, it's not just the word, it's the side eyes, the whispers, the assumptions, the unsolicited advice, and sometimes the outright disrespect. Now, where does this stigma come from? It comes from our culture that glorifies motherhood only inside marriage. It comes from religious expectations which labels single motherhood as a sin and moral failure. It's the ignorance about how complex real life relationships can be and painful stereotypes that paint single moms as irresponsible, careless, wayward, or desperate for pity. That's harsh, right? But it's real. So who are the perpetrators? Sometimes it's family members who say we want you to shame you. It's landlords who refuse to rent to single moms. The employers and colleagues who assume you'll be unreliable. Your religious gatherings who treat you like a prayer point, a sinner instead of a human being. It's other women, especially married ones, who distance themselves from you. Men who see you as baggage or desperate when you try to date again, and even friends who quietly exclude you, treat you differently, or whisper behind your back. Now let's pause here, because this is where many of us get stuck. Stigma doesn't just stay outside. Over time, it moves inside, and this is where we need to talk about the difference between guilt, shame, and stigma. Guilt says, I did something wrong, but guilt can be useful. It can lead to growth, responsibility, and change. Shame says, I am something wrong. But shame attacks identity. It tells you you are defective, unworthy, or even less. Stigma is external, it's society's judgment. But when stigma is repeated long enough, it becomes internalized shame. And that's where the real damage happens. When stigma takes root, it creates shame, isolation, guilt, the feeling of being less, the fear of dating again, fear of being judged because of your child, being pressured to explain your life to everyone, and sometimes the urge to hide part of your life. Now, what many people don't talk about is that stigma doesn't just stop with the mother. Sometimes it extends to the child. You hear things like children from broken homes. She's raising him alone. He will be spoiled. She cannot train her child well. And that cuts deep. So let's come back to the question. Does stigma get better with time? The honest answer is yes and no. In Nigeria, change won't happen overnight. People will still talk. Some opportunities will still be harder to access, and judgment will still show up in subtle ways. But here's the truth that matters. As you heal, grow, and stand firm in your identity, the stigma loses its power over you. Your confidence becomes stronger. Your story gets clearer. Your life becomes bigger than people's opinions. And the result, which is your peace, your child's growth, and your resilience, now speaks louder than anybody's mouth. The stigma may not disappear, but you outgrow it. Now, how do we unpack stigma, shame, and guilt so we can travel lighter on this healing journey? First, separate responsibility from shame. Yes, you may have made mistake, that's responsibility. But shame tells you that those mistakes define your worth, and my dear sister, they do not. Second, stop over explaining your life. You don't owe anyone a backstory or justification for anything. Third, set boundaries, especially with family and friends who are disrespectful and judgmental. Fourth, build a support system, even if it's just two safe people. Healing doesn't require a crowd, Fifth, raise your child with love and intention, not fear of public opinion. And finally, walk with your head high, sister. Do not accept shame that was never yours to carry. Remember, dear sister, motherhood is both a gift and responsibility, so rise up to the occasion with courage. Some of the strongest women out there are single moms, not because life was kind to them, but because life forced them to grow backbone, wisdom, emotional intelligence, and resilience. They have the story of survival behind them. And finally, dear sisters, stigma may exist, but you can outgrow it, and it does not define you. So tell me, sister, in your experience, does it really get better with time? So sisters, that brings us to the end of today's conversation. I'm really glad you made it this far, and thank you for staying with me. If this spoke to you in any way, please like, subscribe, and comment. Share it with a sister who needs it. I'd truly love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation growing. Until next time, I remain your sister Everjoy.